In his legal and political career, he has achieved what many can only dream of. But the question right now is Senator James Orengo still seated at the right hand of his political father, that is Raila Amolo Odinga? Well, still on this classical edition of Siasa Brigade, we'll be having our Wheel of Time segment as usual. And today, we want to understand why Herman Manyora has passionately, not once, not twice, spoken about the welfare of those Kenyans living in arid and semi-arid lands, that's what we call the ASALs, and whether that is what has led to him being nicknamed the Diary of an Angry Man. Well, of course, that and many other issues therein, including that particular place that he has visited, whether in Mandera or Marsabit, that has made him have, or rather view life in a whole new light since then. Of course, my name is Richard Mwanja. Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Siasa Brigade. And right about now, let's dive straight into this conversation with none other than the renowned public scholar and Vihiga's biggest expert, the first of his name, Herman Bond Manyora. Why are you blushing, sir?
Yes, Richard.
Come on.
How are you?
I'm quite well.
Thank you very much.
You continue aging like fine wine. What's the secret?
Of course. I'll be sharing this with Kenyans, with the food, how you cook your food, what utensils you use. We have a new set of sufurias. Poison. Nice sufurias. Cooking without oil. Yeah, wonderful. A little expensive, but you avoid all these things people get into.
Now you've tried to venture into another career of a nutritionist.
No, it's just cooking pots on pans and things like those.
I see.
Yeah.
It will definitely be good for our viewers. Of course, that one will be coming up in our subsequent editions. Make sure you're tuned in to Herman Manyora channel. Let's dive into matters to do with Siaya Senator James Orengo,
yes,
Bob Arthur.
Yes.
Let's talk about his political past, the achievement he's made this far, and what the future portends for him in the world of elective politics, now that he's gunning for the Siaya gubernatorial bid, facing off with none other than the former Raila MP, Nicholas Gumbo. Let's start exactly at that. We have seen ODM field him for governorship position. And as we are also seeing UDM field Nicholas Gumbo. These two are literally firebrands. But would you say that from the Azimio side, particularly ODM, was it kind of a misstep fielding Orengo against their very own son Gumbo for this governorship race?
I think because that seat is safe. Whether it's Gumbo or Orengo, it's safe. It's not like it can go to UDA or something like that, no. It's safely within Azimio, and the entire population is voting for Raila. So I think they didn't find it anything to worry about.
In as much as Azimio might have, of course, that seat at the end of the day, should actually the electorate vote their way, we are seeing that probably, don't you see Orengo's political career, elective political career, will be sent into oblivion if he won't be elected as the governor?
Well, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. If you ask me, I wouldn't have stood if I was Orengo. But he knows better. I didn't want even a young to stand. He stood, he won, he has done a good job. So sometimes we get it wrong. Even if Orengo were to lose, so what? He has had it. He's not a young boy. He can go and rest. But if Raila wins, as I think he will win, Orengo will have a key role to play in Raila's government. So I'm not seeing Orengo going home.
In the same breath, should actually Raila win this particular race, in as much as you're saying Orengo will land a key role and probably be at the center of Raila's governance, we have seen some segments of Azimio come and say, actually intimate to us here at Herman Manyora channel, through our interactions with them and their followers on the streets, that perhaps Junaid Mohammed is that boy who has come and overshadowed James Orengo from being the young boy seated at the right-hand side of Raila Odinga. It's now that place has Junaid in there.
It's not in doubt that Junaid Mohammed currently is the closest politician to Raila Odinga. And a Raila Odinga government, we can only expect that Junaid Mohammed will play a key role, will be the most prominent figure, if not the most powerful. We are looking at Mbioko Inange, so Junaid Mohammed, a.k.a. Mbioko Inange, Junaid Mohammed, a.k.a. Biwot, Junaid Mohammed, a.k.a. Matiangi.
All right. But don't you think Orengo will actually feel uncomfortable with this? He's come from far with Raila Odinga over 30 years ago.
If you have lost an election and people are giving you a seat, how can you complain? Somebody giving you a goat and you are looking how many teeth it has or it has lost. He will have lost. You are arguing if he has lost.
Yes.
Then Raila gives him, even if it's the environment, he'll be lucky to fly a flag.
As a minister.
Yeah.
I see.
You don't want to equate yourself to Jeanette.
I see.
Let Jeanette be Mbioko Inange.
All right.
Yeah.
In the very recent past, actually 5 years ago, we've seen Orengo, when he was debating in Parliament, take on Beth Mugo at the time and saying of how revolutions at times eat their own children, and actually governments do so. For this particular case now that is particularly, many people assume that he's falling from Raila's grace now to grass. Don't you think that this is the very same revolution that has actually taken Orengo to the backseat of Azimio politics and by large ODM politics?
No, he wasn't taking on Beth Mugo. He was asking Beth Mugo, Nyalego,
Yes,
to explain to these people, kina Murkomen, to understand these things. Because Beth Mugo is a veteran, she knows. Tell these people, revolutions eat their own children. Which is true. If you look at the French Revolution, it is the revolutionaries themselves, more than anybody else, who suffered. Even the man who invented the machine that was used for chopping off people's head, because at some point there were so many people to be executed, you needed something to do it first. The guy who invented it, guillotine, pop!
And that's how they went away.
That's how revolutions work.
But then again, we have many forms of revolution. One of them being political revolutions, even at the party levels.
Yes.
and coalition levels. Would you say that he has suffered that particular fate of now being at the no longer at the front row seat of ODM politics? He's now at the back. People like Mbadi, Junet are the one taking the front.
People like Orengo. Let's stick to Orengo. Orengo is a victim of his own greatness. Because if you are as great as Orengo, because anything happening in ODM to Raila, to anybody, is always Jim. Where's the Jim? Where's the Jim? At some point, people feel uneasy. You make them feel small. You make them feel irrelevant. So if they have a way of edging you out, they will do it. Slowly. So if Orengo, I'm not saying anything is happening to Orengo, but as an observer from far, I'm not an insider. I don't see him as an insider, as the insider he used to be. Okay? I can only speculate that many people will not be happy with Orengo because he's great. You can't feel big around Orengo.
He has it all.
Yeah, you feel small.
Orengo has actually been likened to the late Professor George Saitoti.
Yes.
These are people whom by large, any citizens, whether those who were in that government or the other government, opposing government, felt that these were actually leaders who could have taken issues of economic liberation at the very center of their heart. When Saitoti passed away, many Kenyans were actually banking on Senator Orengo, even while in opposition side, bringing this new dawn for Kenyans. He's taken a back row seat even with regards to his boldness in Senate, in being out there defending human rights and doing political activism. What could have actually slowed him in this particular
My friend, Orengo has played his part. Few people can stand up and say, I have played the role Orengo has played. The late Kajwang sometimes he got annoyed. He said, why must it always be a Luo to fight for this country? We can just be like the rest of Kenyans. Why is it us always suffering for this country? We can also enjoy life. Orengo has put in this struggle everything a man can put in. He's risked his life. He's risked everything. He could have become a billionaire, a sharp lawyer like that one, a sharp guy like this. When Kenyans were making money, he could have cut deals with regimes. If Orengo cut deals with more, he would be a multi-billionaire. So, I mean, people like Orengo have played their part. But let me tell you, other than people feeling sometimes uncomfortable with you, these things also take a toll on you. You lose some energy. You know, there are moments of doubt where you even doubt yourself. Am I walking the right path? So those moments come, and all these things cumulatively take a toll on you, and your energy levels sometimes go down. And when you look around you, the people you worked with, you can see you are only remaining with Mother Karua and Raila Odinga. Everybody else has become Angroko. Everybody else has chased money. Everybody else is worshipping money. You know, sometimes you can even just give up. People like Orengo, I feel for them.
You really feel for them?
No, I feel for them. They put in everything. They put everything in the people like Herman Manyora. Now they are seeing everybody who was with them in the trenches. They are now billionaires.
Talking about people actually being in the trenches, Orengo has come forward and actually saying he has always looked up to politicians who are very bold, who never feared things to do with political intimidation, naming the likes of Grace Okoth.
Yes.
We've seen Phoebe Asio come to the picture, the letter, Kenneth Matiba.
Yes, yes.
He actually delivered.
That's his league.
That is his league.
That is his league.
Then how?
Now he's only seeing in Manyora, Raila,
Karua.
Mother Karua. The rest are not there. The rest have become, if they are alive, they have been sucked into this capitalism thing, and they are all owning skyscrapers everywhere.
Should actually Raila ascend to power for ODM as a party, the main party under Azimio? How much of a burden is it or a Herculean task for them to come up with another version of James Orengo, a legislator who is not afraid of political intimidation and will always have the interest?
Let me tell you, people like Orengo are few and far apart. They don't come easy. You don't just pick them on the streets. And he has come from far, from his days as a student leader at the University of Nairobi. He has suffered. He has gone into exile. He has seen it all. Resilience has kept him alive and going. People like Raila and Orengo, they are not many. They are not many. They are few, and therefore replacing them or getting their equivalent. You can get other people making noise around Raila and blah, 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 with money and what, but to get a really Orengo is not easy.
All right.
No.
For matters to do with actually regional politics and kingpinship, if you are actually to set aside Raila Odinga on the side and now consider other people in Western, in actually Luo Nyanza, would you say that perhaps the second in command who can attain the picture of the Luo kingpin, it will likely be Senator Orengo, it will go the Anyang' Nyong'o way?
If we use the eyes of common sense,
yes,
which everybody sees, which is maybe what looks natural, then it's either Anyang' Nyong'o or Orengo, but Orengo is far ahead.
Far ahead?
But my friend, that's not how politics works. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
Raila can fade out of the picture and another person comes who is a very different person, not Orengo.
Yes, Winnie can step in, the father's shoes. That's how life works. You can find Winnie is a person to go to. Even kina Juneto na mbebe handbag. Don't play with politics. Politics is bad. And how it works, that's how it works. Anybody would expect if Raila were to say, I'm tired, Orengo will take over. Or Anyang' Nyong'o. Happy, utakuta ni Gumbo. Gumbe. This guy is his competitor.
Yes, Nicholas Gumbo.
Yeah. He could be the one. He could say, this guy is courageous. If he could take on Raila and Orengo, this is the guy who the Luos are going to put. So politics is not predictable.
All right.
Yeah, even in the UK, you fight Margaret Thatcher, you are Helston. People hail you, wah, 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 wah. Margaret Thatcher falls down. You think that guy will take it? No. Some dull man called John Major comes up and takes up. I see. Today the British are coming up with this Asian man, Kenyan, Tanzanian. The people who wanted Nani to leave, I don't think he was top on the list. All right. Who wanted Boris Lessing to leave. That's not how the world works. The world works in its own way, and especially politics. Yeah.
Very recently, I was actually engaged in a number of members of parliament, from Luo Nyanza, and I wanted to understand why perhaps you are seeing reduced energy from Senator James Orengo. And he signaled that probably the death of the late Jacoyo Midio. They say they enjoyed a very close relationship. These were the two Luo firebrands that were literally working in synergy to make sure that the Luo rights are defended and the rights of every Kenyan. Would you actually support that argument?
Well, yes and no. No, because they are not cut from the same cloth. Orengo is in a class of his own out. He's a revolutionary. He's a thinker. My friend Jacoyo was a good speaker, courageous man also, but not quite in the league of Orengo. Orengo is in another league. All right. I mean, if we were to be fair in this country, this country should give people like Orengo accolades. These are people, even if you put the country in their hands to run, you can go home and sleep that the country is in safe hands. All right. Yeah, there are not many Orengos in this country. As we wrap up, even his enemies, even the people who hate Luos and hate Raila, They know Orengo is not a man you can play with.
They have a soft spot.
No. People respect Orengo. They know what he's capable of.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's come to the tail of this conversation with this one. When it comes to matters taken to the floor of Parliament or the Senate with regards to legislation, the gravitas in there, would you say this, for how much of a credit has Senator Orengo been with regards to legislating on behalf of Kenyans, and what would you take for the incoming senators or the next generation to at least match the energy of Orengo and playing his role as a legislator first before a politician?
One of the things to note about our Senate from 2013 is that it has had a few men, maybe a woman here and there, but mainly men, who have given Senate the stature, the standing. And Orengo stands out among those men. In fact, top on the list. You know, people who make Senate appear, even without the Constitution saying so, they make Senate appear great and greater than the National Assembly, which is how it should be, but which is not how it is in our Constitution. So when you remove, if you are to strip Senate of the likes of Anyang' Nyong'o in 2013, Wetangula, Senator Orengo, Senator Wako, AG Emerita, if you are to strip Senate of about 10 of those guys, it collapses and it becomes just another house of jokers. So, and if you go into the history of our parliament, the struggles, the men who stood up even against Moi in parliament, Paka Moi anashika hivi. Musalia Mudavadi is trying to read the budget, and Orengo is moving a serious motion. There are no people. I'm telling you, Orengo is in a class of his own, my friend.
Well, that point by
we admire Orengo, most of us.
Most of us.
Yes.
And you're wishing him fair wins and following.
I wish him fair, and even the other guy is a good guy. Any one of them can win. This is an Azimio thing. But looking at what Orengo has done for this country, it will be really anti-climax. The other guy is still a young man. Nicholas can come again. If I had a vote in Sia, I would give it to Orengo.
All right. Yeah. Well, that point by Herman Manyora takes us to the wrap of conversation today here on Siasa Brigade. Our person of interest has been none other than the firebrand lawmaker, I should say that, and Senator of Siaya County, none other than James Orengo. Of course, time for a Wheel of Time segment, and today we want to understand why Herman Manyora on Business Glide Show and on many other forums on national television is actually taken the interest of people in Asal counties right at the center of his heart. Perhaps it's why he has been nicknamed the Diary of an Angry Man, always been angry when it comes to Parliament, doing public relations stance when it comes to welfare of people from the north. Sir, yes. How did it all start? You are always passionate when talking matters to do with people in Asal counties. It's
not just Northeastern and those other places. I don't know what kind of person I am. I'm always for the underdog. I always feel bad that we have a country where we have deliberately marginalized certain communities. And known to many Kenyans, sometimes it's very difficult even for a Kenyan Somali, even to get just an ID. You know, even in this country today, if you apply for a passport and you have a Muslim name, they will take you in circles. Other people you applied for will get passports, and yours will be, their name has gone to NIS, what, just a Muslim name. And it is much more so for the Northeastern Somali people. So I always feel that is unfair to them because they are part of us. If we think they are not part of us, we can let them go. Secondly, I am also passionate about people in the slums because I believe you cannot lay claim to being progressive, a developed country, civilized, when section of your population live in Kibera.
All right.
85% of Kenyans don't know what pipe water is. In Nairobi, in the biggest city, one of the biggest cities in Africa, 80% of the population live in slums, Kibera, Kawangware. I can't take that myself.
All right.
So it's not just about Northeastern. It's about me feeling for people who are living, we are making them live like they are not part of us. They are not part of this country. And yet we have enough resources. And I've been passionate about water, you remember that. I have always said, if you set aside 50 billion per year to deal with the water, you can start it off with a round figure of 200 billion just to start it, 150, 100 billion to start a water project, to flood the Northeastern with water.
All right.
Then put 50 billion in the budget every year. In 10 years, Garissa, Wajir, Mandela, you can add Marsabit and add Isiolo. Samburu, they will be the breadbasket of this country.
In the same breath,
Yes.
for leaders from the north region, say Kuriatani, Aden Duale, the likes of Farah Malim, who might actually feel that oftentimes you might be demeaning them by underscoring their performance this far. What is your word for that?
Why am I? But I'm saying there have been places they have never seen even a hospital. I've never seen a maternity ward. They have never seen a tarmac road. They don't know what electricity is, and that's part of Kenya. I'm happy with that. With the devolution, people are seeing things they never saw for 40, 45 years. I'm just speaking for those who have been left behind.
All right.
And it's not just about the arid areas. I'm talking about the slum dwellers. I am passionate about the Samburu, who will watch their animals die. And the Wazungus have those tracts of land. They call them conservative. Conservatives were conservative, whatever that name is difficult to pronounce.
All right.
People who don't even live in this country, they have hundreds of thousands of acres of land. And the Samburu watch the animals die. They cannot get there. We end up engaging in stupid fights over land that is ours. I am passionate about moving together with the sections of this country that have been left behind, that we are deliberately leaving behind, that ultimately will define us, because you are defined as the weakest among the community.
All right.
You cannot claim you are a very rich country, well-to-do country, people dressed well, if people live in Kawangware and Korogosho and Kiandutu.
I see.
That is not acceptable in the 21st century. Finally, it is not even sustainable. It's not even
Sustainable.
You cannot have a city like Nairobi with 80-85% of people living in Kiandutu, Kawangware, Ruben,
Korogosho.
Mukuru, Korogosho. It's not sustainable.
You are a man who has traversed actually the northern region many a times.
Yes, yes.
And from where you sit, which is this actually one place that you visited? And for a moment you said probably, maybe the government is looking at these people as children from a lesser god. Which is
I've seen, I've been to Wajir, I've been to all these places. And especially before devolution, you have to have a heart made of rock, not to cry.
I see.
Yeah, you have to have a heart that is different. If you go to Turkana, your heart must be made of stone, not to ask yourself, we can't allow this. We can't allow some of these things to happen. And sadly, they are not difficult things. We can give Turkana water. Once we give them water, we can make education, like I heard Raila talking in Northeastern Province on the Wajir or somewhere. We can give these people teachers. They can be their own teachers. We can, through affirmative action, train people who may not actually compete competitively, be recruited to become teachers. We can establish deliberately boarding schools, the way the missionaries did it for us. Why can't we have boarding schools throughout Northeastern Province, Wajir, Mandera, in those areas where it's difficult to get teachers? Then we put a camp there, GSU camp in the school. Then we get teachers from Kakamega, from where they can teach together with these Somali people. You are safe because kuna GSU camp there. We can do it. Why can't we do it?
Well, there you have it. Such a passionate appeal from a senior citizen and someone else with the best interest of Kenyans at heart. That is none other than Herman Manyora. That's why we wrap it all together for this particular edition of Siasa Brigade. We've touched on matters to do with the political future of Senator James Orengo. We've also looked at matters to do with the people living in the Asal counties and the passionate cry from a senior citizen, that is Herman Manyora. Until next time on Siasa Brigade, my name is Richard Mwanje. Always a pleasure.